Good evening. Welcome to the RSU5 Board of Directors meeting. It is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, our final board meeting of 2024. Welcome all. We have a full board this evening with the exception of Maura. She is out of town, but we will get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. Do I have a motion for consideration and approval of the minutes from the November 20th meeting, 2024, as presented, barring any errors or omissions? Danielle, thank you. Beth? All those in favor? Great. None opposed. Adjustments?
No, none this evening.
Great. So we will keep moving to number 6, good news and recognition, our report from Phoebe, our student rep.
All right, so things are going well at FHS. For winter sports, they are all kicked off into the seasons. Our girls hockey team is playing tomorrow night against Winslow. And the varsity swim also has a meet tomorrow night at Bowdoin at 7:15. The girls basketball team plays at home on Friday at 6:30 against Lewiston, and then the boys basketball plays at Lewiston at 7 on Friday. For our clubs, the student leadership team is hosting their conversations right now with students about school culture and respect. And there's a giving tree to support local families for the holidays. I think it's in its final days right now.
obligation to obtain bonds. And for those members on the board, we had a rating. It was rated 2 years ago, and we were A plus at that time. Based on their review, our credit rating has been raised from A plus to AA minus. So it sounds like you think AA minus is better than A plus. So it's actually been raised. And a couple of highlights from their entire report. They're telling us our district's financial outlook is stable, and we've consistently had positive financial operations over the last few years. It was noted about we're looking to, as we've talked about, our undesignated fund balance and some of the things we did last year, for example, with the reserve accounts. And they're saying that they believe that our overall financial position will remain comparable with those of similarly rated peers. So that was good news. Another bit of exciting news is that we've received notification from the New England Sports Field Management Association, and I'm proud to announce that Mr. Jason Chisholm, our athletics field and ground supervisor, has received notification that he is the recipient of the 2025 Sports Field Manager of the Year Award. This award is the most important honor of the association can bestow upon its members. Nominations are made by fellow NESFMA members, and it recognizes a New England sports field manager who has made a significant impact in the sports field industry, including successful management and maintenance practices, creative staffing and budgeting strategies, successful partnerships, technical enhancements, improvements, and safety and environmental stewardship. Jason will be presented with the Sports Fields Manager of the Year Award on Wednesday, March 5th at their awards meeting and lunch held during the New England Regional Turf Grass Conference in Providence, Rhode Island. So you know, this isn't just high schools. This is Fenway Park. This is a Sea Dog Stadium. This is colleges. This is universities. And Jason Chisholm has won this award. He is a very humble individual, if you know Jason at all, and I asked him if I could have permission. He did tell me he does not toot his own horn, and I asked if I could have permission to share it with you tonight because we're all incredibly proud and appreciative of all the work he does. So good news in RSU 5 tonight. And that's the end of my report.
Wonderful, thank you. So the resignations and the hires are on here for.
We'll move on to those. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the other ones. Those are the good news. This is not the not so good. We have resignations. So we have a resignation from Wendy Cannon. She is Moore Street School and Pownell STEM teacher, and Ashley Dame, who is DCS educational technician. We are happy to have some new support staff hires. Alyssa Hurling will be an ed tech at DCS. Andrew Chassie is FMS office secretary, and Henok Apamato is a new custodian right here at Freeport High School. So we welcome all those folks to RSU 5.
Wonderful. Okay, so we will move on to item 9, administrator reports, and we will start with Kelly Wentworth for finance.
Excellent. Included in your packet tonight were the expenditures through November 30, 2024. We continue to be ahead in our revenue collections, largely due to the additional interest that we're collecting, and our expenditures seem to remain on track for where we were tracking about last year at this time. Jean took the rest of my presentation when she told you about all the budget stuff that we've been working on. So I will just mention a little bit of another thing that's been kind of consuming my time is a proposal that we just reviewed tonight between facilities and finance, where we're looking at the items from the energy audit, some vehicle and an equipment replacement plan, and a life safety plan that you'll probably see, hoping that the committees will support it, that will come forward during the budget process.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions for Kelly? All right, thank you. All right, moving on to our next administrator report. We have the update from the technology department and goal review. So Sam will step away from his other job at the table and come up to the podium.
Just FYI for anybody watching, our cameras went offline, so we're on a backup camera, and it should be recording and it should be broadcasting live, but there's just going to be a wide angle tonight. Okay. No close-ups. Yeah, I'm fine with that, although they will see some of the back of my head as I work the cameras. Starting with last year, looking at our goals from last year, we had kind of this being my first year, and then having only one support staff member who had been here for more than like 10 months when I took over. It was really, the goals last year were really about kind of wrapping our arms around where we are, and then trying to improve some of the stuff that we, trying to get up to speed and get back up to best practices. So looking at, a needs assessment, we did all of that work, and did a bunch of work in terms of network and cybersecurity, updating our network so that it's more secure, siloing the networks a little bit, building by building, as opposed to having one kind of all-encompassing network across the whole district. All of that stuff was largely completed as planned. Sorry, I'm just looking over my notes. The needs assessment, we've kind of, that grew in scope quite a bit, from just the focusing on classroom technology and Wi-Fi equipment, to really a whole bunch of communication tools, security, building security, cameras, etc. So that was fun to kind of sink our teeth into that. I think we're in a good place in terms of knowing what needs to be done, and now we'll have to figure out how we're going to do it. We're not yet at a place where it's like, okay, there's still a lot of work to be done, and so we're not yet at a place of like, okay, if we had our druthers and all our replacement cycles were, being met, this is exactly how much it would cost, just because we're not even there in terms of having replaced stuff yet, and having our arms all the way wrapped around that. And then we did complete the network safety and security evaluation, and then put into place everything that we were planning on putting into place. It took a little bit longer than expected, mostly because we added a network and systems admin and really wanted them to be involved in the process and not be inheriting something that was complex, that was not of their making. So we delayed a lot of that work until they came on board on July 1, and then finished it up over the summer and at the start of the school year. Any questions or comments or thoughts? Yeah.
I was just curious about the CUPS grant. I think we had talked a little bit about that before, so can you just elaborate a little bit?
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know how much, Kelly already left. I don't know how much detail I should go into. I think, and in the interest of not throwing previous RSU5 employees under the bus, I'll just say that there were clerical issues with our ability to apply with the grant that were not rectified until it was too late to apply for the grant. It was one of those things where it was sort of confounding as to how we got to that point, but we were there.
Is that like a one-time thing?
That is a one-time thing. That's sort of, it's like our existence as an entity for the grant providing organization. Yeah.
Other questions on last year's goals? Kara?
I was wondering if you could tell us more about the ticketing software and inventory management. Is that working well?
Yes, no, it's been working really well. I think the big thing where we don't have like one person in every building is that it's a huge boon to be able to, for anybody to be able to step in and cover for something. And as we're receiving stuff through the ticketing software, it makes it much easier to kind of know where you're at and know where you stand with that, or know what needs to be done. Excuse me. And then we've integrated the inventory management for all of the devices that are like in people's hands, and now we're kind of bringing on board projectors, TVs, all that stuff, which is a little bit more kind of hands-on and like going to each room and assessing what's there and trying to figure out when it was manufactured, recording serial numbers, all that stuff. But yeah.
All right, carry on.
Cool. So our goals this year, first goal is really to try to focus more on technology use in the classroom. This is something that we don't have dedicated technology integrators who are focused on this, but we have some folks on my team and myself who have a background in that. And so we're really working towards making inroads there. I think that that's something that the technology department has been very much like operational and like, does it work? Yes, no. And that's kind of been the extent of it. And we're trying to grow that presence. Not necessarily forcing technology into places where it doesn't need to be, but helping teachers understand what's out there and how it can inform their instruction. And our second goal is to be a little bit more, to expand on, communication, both internally and externally, and be available as a resource for, communicating with parents, providing tech tips, being available, or being out there and a little bit more out front and proactive in terms of how we're communicating and what we're communicating about. Yeah. And other than that, we've, it's been a huge boon bringing on a network and systems admin. It really, having someone have like me not being the only person who sort of has like a higher level view of everything, and having someone to be able to work through problems with, who has a very strong technical background, has been a tremendous boon. And yeah, that's Jordan Lord. I think he's probably watching right now, and he's probably blushing in his house. But no, it's been wonderful having him join our team, and I'll just say that we have a great team here, and I've really it's been wonderful getting to know them, and it's been a lot of fun transitioning in here.
In terms of staffing, are you fully staffed? I mean, this is a sort of the goals. So last year was a little more technical and operational,
Yes.
right? Like getting a handle on what we have. And this year is a little more forward-thinking and expansive in terms of supporting more the active education piece of the district. One, are you fully staffed? And two, do you have the people to do this?
Not sure what the crackling is, but we'll power through. I think we do not have any open positions, so we are fully staffed at the moment. I don't know the full history of technology integrator positions in this district. They're now down to a stipend at the middle school level, which is sort of a vestige of the Maine Learning Technologies Initiative, and were put into place, I think, in conjunction with that, and then have kind of remained in place. If I had my druthers, would I like to have some technology integrators where, who are much more focused on working with teachers on teaching with technology? I would love that, but I don't think that this is the budget year to do that, and I don't think the time isn't quite right. I also, not to jump ahead to my budget, but at this point we've got a draft. We're looking at trying to run a pilot program to identify which devices we should be using, 6 through 12. And so I think running that pilot program is going to kind of help inform a whole host of things, including staffing, including device purchase, more importantly, device purchase. So yeah, I would say it would be great, but we're not there yet.
But the people you have some capacity to take on
Yes.
some of this work this year?
Yep. And I have capacity to take on, or I shouldn't say, I wouldn't say our capacity overfloweth. It's more one of those we can find pockets, and there are certain weeks where it's like you plan something and then the network goes down or the phones go down, and then guess what? All that stuff's getting bumped. But we do have some time where we can try to make ourselves available for that, and yeah.
No, my question really kind of piggybacked on yours, and that is, we just heard a presentation on a lot of technology changes and upgrades that are going to be happening in our schools, and I guess, is all of that feasible in addition to all of these goals? All of it together seems like it's going to be a big heavy lift.
Yeah. So the stuff that we were talking about in Finance Committee, or the Finance and Facilities Joint Meeting, that most of that would be project management on our end, but not physically doing the work. Last summer, it was physically doing the work. So we replaced 3 camera systems, and we mounted every single camera ourselves. We were on the ladders, and it was, and I don't want to do that again. Although Fred on my team is just like very excited anytime he gets to be in a lift or use a hammer drill. So we're not all on the same page in terms of wanting or not wanting to do that, but it being my decision, I don't really want to do that again. So we've built in some labor costs for the stuff that we were doing last summer, or the stuff that in terms of similar projects. The doors, phones, and PA and intercom systems, those would be purely project management on our end. It's not a true. We're paying for labor to be running the cables and mounting and testing everything, and so that's part of it. Yep, that's part of that. So it is a lot. Don't get me wrong, it is a lot. But I also think when it comes to like life safety and school security, like it's sorry, I don't know if that's me. It's worth it's worth having another busy summer, so yeah.
It's always the tech guy. Other questions for Sam? Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed reading this. It's some exciting goals. I'm wondering if you can give us some examples of new technology tools that we might see in the classroom.
Yeah, so new technology tools that we might see in the classroom. I think that we would, one thing that we have available for teachers that I don't think that they're making, not anyone's fault, but I don't think many teachers are using to the extent that they could, are iPads. And that's not to say that the iPad is necessarily the device for every student to be using, but I do think as a teaching tool, in terms of the portability, the way that you can kind of like hand a device to a student and have them mark up, something that's being projected to the whole class, or it allows for a level of like classroom management by walking around. There's sort of like two schools of thought with the, with like, should we be able to see what is on a student's screen? Should teachers be able to see that? And a lot of teachers really want that because it allows them to kind of stand at the podium and be able to view what students are doing. I'm kind of a bigger believer in doing that by walking around. And so by using the iPad as a teaching tool, it kind of allows the teacher to be much more mobile than when they're using a laptop. They can be effectively treating the iPad like a whiteboard. And yeah, I don't know, lots of fun stuff there. I also think there's lots of instructional methods, kind of like flipped classroom models were all the rage like a decade ago. But I do think that realm has sort of been completely left alone. And I think that there's lots of classes where it really makes sense to have more of like, the student looking at the student's homework being, learning some of the content of the lesson, and then the time in class being like more of a learning lab. So where areas where that really makes sense, STEM, computer science, disciplines like that, sometimes math and science as well. So I think those are a couple options, but yeah, I don't know. I also think, you know, we really want to kind of meet teachers where they are. So if this is, so I can come up with ideas, but ultimately if we're doing our job correctly, it's about this shouldn't be a huge lift for a teacher to kind of go from A to B or B to C. It should be that we're helping them improve based on where they're at.
Any other questions for Sam? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Moving on to 9C, we will have the update from the facilities department and the goal review from Glenn. I noticed he didn't move the mic down for you, Glenn.
I know. So let me do that first. There we go. Also, before I get started, I'd like to piggyback on what Gene was saying about Jason. Great job, great guy, well worthy of the award. So he does a good job. To kind of get started on my last year goals, kind of piggybacking off Sam, my first year here was kind of to take an overall assessment of kind of where we're at. You know, the new guy walking in, kind of what you're walking into. So we've pretty much finalized the sketch and design of the new, the last year's goal was to have an engineering firm complete the septic design, which is just about finished. What we're doing now is we're in the final stages of putting the spec together to go out to bid, and when that's completed, we'll share that with everybody. I'm breaking the mic. Also was to conduct a full district energy audit, including water usage, identifying needs, improvements for the RSU5 facilities, which we reported out to all of you. Conduct a comprehensive building assessment. Again, the internal assessment's completed, but we update that as things arise. Complete the following 22-23 carryover items was the Pownell Elementary School security and Pownell Elementary School paving out back. Additional Pownell Elementary School building security items identified, and those have been moved over to an additional plan that Kelly kind of alluded to, where we have a life safety plan that will address those items as well as some other items in the district. So those are my last year goals.
Did you get to leave Pownell at all last year, or kind of feels like Pownell
no,
was
I'm still there quite regularly. So, so
they let you out to come over here.
Absolutely.
He's not lying. I drive by the other day and I saw him outside.
Yeah.
So.
True, I'm there. I'm there a lot. Great school, great building. They all are, absolutely.
Any questions for Glenn on last year's?
No?
Okay.
Okay. So this year's goals, again, Kelly alluded to, is to develop articulated capital improvement plan that includes items identified through the energy audit and the comprehensive building assessment. And also is to develop an articulated plan for vehicle equipment replacement. The Facility Finance Committee was presented with these items, and I'm sure at some point we'll have additional conversations about those and be presented to all of you as well.
And the reason the Pownell septic isn't on this year's is because it won't actually get done until next summer, which will be the following years, yes?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Questions for Glenn? Letting you off early.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Back to Pownell you go.
You want me to? I will raise the mic for you.
It might be fun. All right. So we will move on to 9D, our final department update for the evening, which is Alicia Morris for instructional support.
And first, I just want to apologize for being a little bit late. It was foggier on my ride in than I had expected, so I'm sorry for that. Yeah. So the goals from last year were developed by Dr. Sellers. The first goal was to develop special ed scheduling guidelines and grades 7 through 12 plus transition continuum programming. This goal was not completed, and it was due to other programming priorities in the special education department at the high school. So because there were other things that took precedence over that, this goal wasn't started. The second goal was to review the roles of the instructional strategists to ensure that they are being utilized to the best of their abilities. The job description for the instructional strategist was looked at and revised, and the title had changed for this year to special education coordinators. And with that title, there's different job responsibilities, so it's more of a supporting role, supporting case management role to special educators. So more facilitating and supporting at special education IEP meetings, supporting with paperwork, and really looking at adhering to timelines and compliance. So that has been really successful this year. Since I've been here, we've been able to really provide that support to teachers, and it's actually been really helpful in adhering to the timelines and the compliance piece. The third goal was to review and analyze and optimize day-to-day budget flow and processes for planning and forecasting. So this goal was successful, and the budget flow and processes were developed, and this will continue for the following school year and next year. I know that Kelly and Diane, the administrative assistant to special education, work really closely. They have a lot of spreadsheets and are keeping track of all of the day-to-day expenditures. For any questions on those?
Not overly fair to ask you questions on the goals for when you weren't here. So
I appreciate that. I would do my best, but I'm not sure I would have a lot of the answers. So for this year, my goals were developed and created after I had spoke to administrators in the district and to all special education staff. And there was a consistent idea of what needed to happen or what people would like to happen for this year. And that was building capacity district-wide by ensuring that all special education staff acquire the essential skills and knowledge to effectively support students with complex needs. So that's my first goal. In order to do that, we're really providing some specialized support for social emotional learning, SEL, and behavioral interventions. Our BCBA, which is a new position this year, is really key to helping support this goal. And so we have our BCBA working with students, working with staff within buildings, and we're also looking for a lot of professional development opportunities and different programs to support students with complex needs. Also providing opportunities to staff for collaboration, consultation, and direct modeling of effective support strategies. And again, we have, we look within our department to find role models and teachers that have the capacity and are able to do these things. So again, our BCBA and looking at other staff to help go into classrooms to model how to effectively de-escalate and support students when they're having a behavioral crisis. So that would be that's my first goal. And the second goal would be to ensure consistency in special education case management practices across the district by establishing protocols, procedures, and guidelines for all case managers. And again, the special education coordinators, the title that changed from last year, are really key in supporting this goal. So with that, I've created a shared Google folder. It's special education resources, and I've shared it with all of the service providers, so like PT, OT, speech, BCBA, as well as the special educators. And it's a folder that has folders within folders, right? So there's templates and guidelines. So really making sure that everybody has all of the same information, all of the documentation that's going out to parents looks the same across the district. So that was the first part of that goal, which that's been created. And anytime, a special educator or a service provider has information that they think would be relevant, they share it with me, and then I add it to a folder within the shared resource folder. So that's been really helpful and instrumental. The second part would be implementing regular professional development and during staff meetings to foster a shared understanding of these practices and encourage open dialogue among case managers and service providers. So I've created a lot of opportunity and space for people to come together and just have collaboration. This is what we're doing in this building, it's working, or this is what we're doing here, it's not working. How can we, do better, for our students? and the other part would be create professional learning communities for our social workers and related service providers. So I would say a few months ago I met with the social workers. We created a professional learning community where they could come together. We want to make sure that we're providing consistent programming. We're using the same tools for entering students into receiving social work services, dismissing students. So they meet monthly. It's an option to do a remote meeting because it's really hard for people to leave their buildings. So there's an opportunity that you can join. It's monthly, and we're really just talking about, right now we're looking at tools for effective implementation around the district, around how are we going to assess if a student needs or should be dismissed from social work services, right? So everyone can benefit from therapeutic services all the time, but we want to make sure that it's relevant to disability, and we're not over servicing students if they don't need to be serviced. And there are times where students can be dismissed from social work services through the IEP process, but still receive social work services through the general ed setting. So that's what we're really looking to navigate. And we've also created a PLC for the service providers. So speech, OT, PT, they can come together as one PLC, but then there's also opportunities where speech can work with just speech, OT and PT work together, again, to collaborate and looking at different tools and how can we be more effective across the district. So those are the two goals that I'm working on this year, and it's really just based on what I was told that the district really wanted and needed.
These sound fabulous, and they look like the sorts of things that we need, but I'm sort of curious to hear what kind of feedback you've received from our social workers and case managers and special education educators.
Great question. So the feedback that I've received has been great. Like, everyone's been really appreciative. They love the opportunities. They feel like this is something that's been missing. But again, this is what I'm being told, so that you never know if that's actually what people feel. But as far as I know, everyone's really happy with the professional development, with the staff meetings, with the opportunities to come together as PLCs. I think that this is what people had wanted. They just didn't know how to bring it together. And so feedback has been positive.
And what about from the parents? Has any of this trickled down to feedback from parents yet in terms of the kinds of services they feel like their kids are getting?
So I've met with parents, not particular to services that their students are receiving. But since I've been in the district, I've had, probably 8 to 10 parents come in and meet with me, and they've all have had good feedback and just welcoming me to the community, and like what they've been seeing and like what they've been hearing so far. So, of course, there's always going to be challenges, case by case, but I think overall it's been positive feedback.
I'm curious, I am going to bring up a goal from last year, but the one that didn't really, didn't get off the ground, so to speak, because of other things taking priority, sort of that 7 to 12 continuum transition continuum. Is that something you would expect would come back to the forefront, or is that something that we're going to sort of tackle in a different way?
No, I think we're always looking at that, and we're looking to refine practices, and we're talking about those things, but it's just not like a top goal that I have. But certainly it's not thrown away. Those are things that we just do year to year automatically.
Great,
yeah.
Thank you. I know Colin doesn't like for goals to disappear off anybody's to-do list, so. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And drive safe going home. I don't think it sounds like it's any better than it was when we all came in. All right, so moving on to 10, board comments and committee reports. We have a board information exchange, agenda requests. Anything anyone wanted to share? I don't think we've had one of these. Well, no, I guess we did since the fall conference. I don't know if anybody talked about the fall conference. No. And now it feels so far away, I can't even remember. It was great, though. It always is. The speaker was incredible. It was all about engagement. And I think we sat there for, I don't know, how long? 2 hours, 2.5 hours? And he kept every single person engaged the whole time. It was amazing. I did want to share that this past week, was it Wednesday? I don't know what day it was. Last Wednesday, I think. Yes. We had our annual leadership meeting with the towns where we invite the chair of the select board or the council and the either the town manager or the town administrator from each town. We did have some challenges with I know Pownell just actually lost their town admin, so they didn't have someone there, but we did have a member. The chair from Pownell was there, the town manager from Durham was there, and obviously we were there. I think we had a good conversation. You know, we talked about sort of the budget process. We talked about the feedback we got in Pownell last year about communication. We made sure they were aware that we sort of swapped those spring meetings to give a little bit more time for folks in Pownell to get the full budget booklet and review it before the meeting. We talked about ways that we can maybe use their communication networks, whether it's an email blast or on their website, to promote our budget process meetings in advance of the adoption of the budget so that people will be a little more familiar in the process of creating the budget and not just once it's already been adopted. So they all seemed, well, Freeport wasn't there, but Pownell and Durham both felt like they could certainly get on board with trying to help disseminate information. So we worked on that a little bit. We also talked about one of the challenges in Pownell. There's a fair number of folks that may or may not be getting email blasts and things like that. That might not be how they access their information. So we did agree that we would start sending our one packet, you know, like you all get your board packet. We email it to everybody that's on our distribution list, including all 3 towns. But just in an effort to provide it in a method that's accessible for the folks, or what they felt might be more accessible is an actual physical copy that they'll keep at Mallet Hall, and they can make copies if they need it for folks. Just another way to try and get information in people's hands, so people feel like they have information they need to make decisions. So not the best attended one of our leadership meetings, but I do think it was productive, and I'm glad we did it, and I appreciate the folks that made the time and made it. Any other exchanges? Yeah.
Question, I'm wondering if anyone knows the status of the Freeport vacant seat and how where the town is in that process of
I believe that it's on the agenda for the next town council meeting next Tuesday to appoint the new person. That's all I have for an update. We were going to ask that question, but so I think after next Tuesday we will have a full board, and so our first board meeting in January is the 8th. So hopefully we'll have that seat filled by then. Other exchanges or agenda requests? All right, we will move on to finance.
All right, so we had a meeting. This is reporting out from our meeting on November 20th. And basically Kelly, our finance director, reviewed the warrant signing process as we have a new member of our finance committee, which she's probably well versed at some of this stuff already. But anyway, so we went over some of that and talked about the undesignated fund balance and talked about the capital planning sort of thing that we also just talked about tonight in our joint meeting regarding spending some of that undesignated fund balance down on things that we really need, like life safety, and then figuring out how to make that work going forward with the vehicle and grounds replacements and also the building and capital improvements that we need done and the things that have been identified by the energy audit. And then we just basically touched on the beginning of the budget discussion and talking about the challenges of that we already have a lot of negotiated staff salaries and health insurance things that are going to just be an automatic increase, and so that's not me personally, but the staff is working very hard to come up with ways that make it an easier pill to swallow. And so the other thing coming up is we're going to, in February at our meeting, we'll review the cost sharing formula for the past year and just make sure everything is aligning the way we want it to. So, and so I'll take any questions if anybody has any. Oh, Kara?
I have a question. I'm not sure you'll be able to answer this, but the paid leave contributions are supposed to start in January of 25 around this date, and I'm wondering if you could, if maybe Jean or anyone
Yeah, I'm going to
can,
toss that to Jean.
can
'cause she's
share
the
where this district is with that. I feel like since there are contracts in place, maybe that doesn't start until later. What can you share about that?
So it depends on the contract, and I will say our CEA leadership has recently reached out to have a conversation about that.
Other questions? Wonderful. Then we will move on to. That was the only committee? Okay. Great. Everybody else is slacking, I guess. So we will move on to policy. I will get a motion on the floor. I'm so disjointed because usually you talk about policy in the committee reports and then we move to policy, but there's no committee report. All right, so do we have a motion for consideration and approval of second read for the following policies? AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity and affirmative action. ACAB, harassment and sexual harassment of employees. ACABR, the employee discrimination, harassment, and Title IX sexual harassment complaint procedures revised into 2 procedures, ACABR1 and ACABR2. Kelly and Beth, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yes, the policy committee brings before you for second read those items which you just read. We, based on the feedback that we received in the last meeting and the conversation that we had, we did not change a gosh darn thing in these 3 policies. We did have a meeting which, if we did have a committee report on our policy committee, which we're not having, but if we did have that report out, I would have told you that we did have a big meeting to talk about JIE, the pregnant students policy. But since we're not reporting out about that policy, I'm not going to tell you that that's what we did. Yeah, you'll have no information on it. But yes, we bring these 3 policies before you as you saw them last time. And just for anyone watching from home, when we talked about these last time, what we also said was that a lot of the changes that were made to these 3 policies for the first read echoed the changes in the set of policies before that that had to do with harassment and sexual harassment of students. So we had a first look at the new language on that. And again, all of these, most of these changes flow from how we need to adapt our policies to be in compliance with Title IX rule changes.
Okay. Any questions? Certainly keeps it easy when there's no changes from the last time we all approved these. All right, we have a motion and we have a second on the floor. And if I'm not seeing any other questions, I will call for a vote. All those in favor? Great, none opposed. All right, we have no unfinished business nor new business. So we will move on to 14 personnel. You want me to get a motion? Okay. Do I have a motion for consideration and approval to employ an interim assistant principal at the Durham Community School from approximately, I love there's a date, February 3rd, 2025 until approximately April 4th, 2025? Beth and Malik, thank you.
Okay. And it's approximately because sometimes we just don't know when babies are born. So I bring forth to you Kate Parkin. Kate's education, she has a BA in Geography from Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire. She has a master's in middle school education from Bank Street College of Education in New York, New York. And she holds a CAS in Educational Leadership from the University of Southern Maine. Her certification includes a K-8 elementary teacher certification as well as the assistant building administrator certification. Relevant experience. She has a lot of teaching experience. She's been a grade 7 teacher in Brooklyn, New York, a grade 6 writing teacher at Lake Region Middle School, a grade 6 language arts and social studies teacher at Westbrook Middle School, a grade 4 teacher at Yarmouth Elementary School, and she's been for the last few years an instructional strategist here in RSU 5, and this year she is doing that at Durham Community School. References describe Kate as intelligent, reflective, having a passion for excellence in instruction for all learners, respected, a trusted source, and setting high standards for herself and others.
Questions? Fun statistic I saw once. I don't know if it's true. I'm just disseminating probably untrue information, but I hear only 2% of babies are born on their due date. Fun. So 2% chance it's February 3rd.
If anyone in the public has facts to contradict the chair on that, please send them to board@rsu5.org and address them to Michelle. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes. All right. Any questions, comments? All right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. All right. So we are back to public comment. Please don't do that. Really?
Hello, my name is Colin Chaney. I'm from Freeport. I just would like to publicly apologize to Kara Kaikini for what I said earlier about the whoopie pies that she made as a gift to everyone.
I'm sorry, that's your time? That's it.
It's amazing how quickly your 3 minutes flies when you're at the when you're at the podium. All right, I will take a motion to adjourn. All right, so Cheyenne and Kelly, and have a great holiday, everyone, and we will see you next year. Yeah, oh yeah, everybody want to vote? Sorry. I guess we should actually vote, or we're still in